Sometimes you need to make a change in order to make it to the top. Fallujah is a band that started off in the middle portion of the 2000s, and they were considered to be kind of a catch-as-catch-can deathcore band, one that was just one of the flock, or one of the fold. Not much really to differentiate them from the others. And then 2 years ago, with the Flesh Prevails, man, they were able to take that stigma and just throw it out the window. There was so much growth on that record, and the record itself was filled with such stellar songwriting that it ended up on the best of lists for many publications and other reviewers that are here on YouTube, and it was a fantastic record. So how do you somehow follow up a record that has that much acclaim to it? That's the daunting task that Fallujah has in front of them with Dreamless here in 2016. So first of all, how do you even go about trying to accomplish this task? First of all, you don't look at it as trying to follow that up. You instead look at it as writing a brand new record. Problem solved, right? Well, whenever it comes to a critical standpoint, it's a little bit more difficult than that. There's 3 additional tracks on this album. There's 15 additional minutes of runtime based off of that. So if you felt that The Flesh Prevails was a little short, then you're going to be a little more satisfied with what you get with Dreamless, considering the longer runtime. Now, right away though, with Face of Death, this feels more like an introductory track as opposed to truly being its own representative idea or song. And the way it seamlessly moves into Adrenaline kind of suggests this a little bit more. The one thing that I do find to be interesting about this is that they didn't opt to just make this a one cohesive, near 8-minute long track, which really would have been a nice surprise and would have been a neat start off to this disc. Because individually speaking, these tracks are just okay. They're not really all of that fantastic. You combine the two of them, and while you're not necessarily getting the track of the album, it's not going to be the song that everybody talks about. It does leave a bit of a representative taste. So this was one where you kind of had a judgment call to make if that was indeed meant to be an introduction into Adrenaline. I don't think it really was, but if it was, we're merely hypothesizing here, then I think that the better choice would have been the longer track. But again, just a personal thing. Aside from that, individually, not too bad. But then moving on to The Void Alone and Abandon, we're starting to see the aggressive side of Fallujah come out in full force. So it feels very much at this stage of the game, at this driving moment, that Dreamless is going to be an album that is not very much as true to its name as it seems, or as Face of Death may have suggested with its kind of airy introduction. Instead, it's one that seems like it's going to try to drive things home with a little bit of melodic hook to sort of supplant that, to give it a nice little dual effect. However, still have a lot more of the edge, or really the heavier portion of this band really shine forward and be kind of the victor in that battle. You think that until you get to the title track. Dreamless is the midway portion of this disc. It's 6 minutes and 17 seconds long, making it the longest song on this album by 3 whole seconds. And this is one that takes that idea of airy goodness, near ambience, to a brand new level. What a track this is, and also what a true turning point in this album that this song is. Dreamless seems to be the point in which the band opted to really embrace that idea of giving themselves a brand new element, or continuing their exploration that was begun on their previous record, because this song feels very dense, very layered. But despite all that, it has a very light atmosphere to it. Its density is based off of that sort of semi-ambience, that gives it sort of a clouded exterior to it. But it's lighter than air in its softness until you get near the end point of this track. Really, the first 2/3 of this song is one that feels lighter than air, almost as though Fallujah is trying to experiment a little bit with the idea of post-metal. And believe me, based off of this track and another that we're about to talk about, the band actually could pull off a post-metal album and nobody would blink an eye. And the song that I'm speaking about, the second one that is Les Silences, or The Silence. It's a great exhibition as to a band that can be brutally heavy, either that or at least have that extra heavy side to their sound, which was just exhibited previously on Wind for Wings, or even Amber Gaze previous to this, and then immediately is able to come back with something that has, again, that sort of lighter than air philosophy to it. This is one that once again sort of paints this group as one that's experimenting a bit more with a little post-metal, with a little bit of that airy, almost ambient atmosphere, and they are pulling it off very nicely. These tracks are nice surprises, not to mention they also offer just something very unique and interesting. And really, whenever you think about it, we stated there was 3 additional songs on this album by comparison to The Flesh Prevails. And if you take Dreamless, Les Silence, and then you also take Fidelio, you really have the 3 tracks right there that are mainly, for the most part, instrumental songs, because Fidelio is more of a soft introduction that doesn't even crack the 3-minute mark. So they are kind of doing The Flesh Prevails again, only in encountering alongside of it something very soft and something very experimental, something that they have not tried or not done in large margins prior to this. So they're using those additional tracks to maybe lay groundwork or a foundation for a future major element in their sound. And you have to admire the bravery, you have to admire that brazen attitude to give that a shot. Lacuna finishes off this album a near 5-minute outro that is very solid. Really, the second portion of this disc is extremely strong by comparison to its first half predecessor, and it really offers so much more to the listener, considering it's a very diverse section of this disc. Based off of that, though, The Flesh Prevails was such a just terrific experience from inception to final note that to hear this album have either a preferential side, I guess, if you were going to be a very subjective opinion about that, or at least just a more dominant side whenever it comes to real exploration, that's kind of not as good. So really, by comparison to The Flesh Prevails, they were not quite able to supplant its majesty, but instead, I feel that this is Fallujah's way of really laying the groundwork. They're not trying to overdo or outdo what they did previously with The Flesh Prevails. They're instead using this album as a way to try to further their sound and kind of grow up and evolve right before our eyes. And quite frankly, they were able to accomplish just that with this disc, and they were able to do a lot more that's going to serve them very well down the line. This is an album I would give an 85 out of 100 to. Still a very solid listen. Like I said, the second half of this disc is definitely stronger than the first, more explorative than the first. However, those that enjoy that more aggressive side, that more aggressive portion of Fallujah, will take a look at this first half as extremely, extremely nice, not to mention something that they have been clamoring for. But I want to know your thoughts about Dreamless by Fallujah, this terrific album, the first of 7 that we're going to be talking about throughout the course of this weekend. Are you ready for all of these? Because my God, I don't even know if I am. There's tons that are coming out. Some names, just to name a few. We have new ones from Haken, from Rob Zombie. We even have a couple of surprises that are planned, including the new Tremonti album. So, if you want to hear the reviews, the thoughts, the information that you need to make a great choice on an album, hit that subscribe button below and give this video a like. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all of your support. My name is coverkillernation, and I will talk to each and every one of you sooner than you might think, considering we have so much to talk about. Take care.